I guess I should start by saying I have roots in Montmartre, and the property that's going to be used to do the model farm, I guess, is my family's. I've had an interest, in agriculture. Was a Peace Corps volunteer, an agricultural Peace Corps volunteer in Sierra Leone. So I've always had an interest. I had a biology degree in plant biology. Growing up in Grenada, I guess I had an interest in agriculture because my father had this farm and produced cocoa and lots of vegetables and things like that. So there's always been an interest in agriculture. And I guess the opportunity with this project, the land was pretty dormant, I guess, just sitting there. So I thought, why not utilize it? I think my father would have wanted to be utilized. I don't think we wanted to sell at that point because it's what he lived his whole life around, wanting to see something come out of the land.
My name is Alfred Hines. I've been in agriculture my whole life. Even as a boy growing up, we used to have parents being agriculturists. You have, your goats to see about and your own small plot of land to cultivate and so on. So basically, I've been doing agriculture for a living since 1984.
My name is Nelson Hines, brother to Alfred Hines. I'm in agriculture since nature. Since nature. I'm there. My father and my mother was pure farmers. So I'm there since up to now.
My name is Denise Ogilvie, and I'm the CEO of People in Action, which is a local NGO here in Grenada. We are focused on socio-economic development for communities, mostly a ground-up strategy of how we might now enable communities to be empowered to understand their resources that they have available to them and how they might best work with them in a sustainable manner.
Immediately the community would benefit because it's within their backyard. But we're also looking at the national level where it's going to be a model farm where we're using the permaculture design. So farmers and other community members could come in and learn. It's going to be a research institute. They're going to learn what are the practices that are happening there, particularly permaculture design, and find ways to integrate these practices into their own local community or within their own farm. So it's really going to be an excellent learning institution for persons locally, nationally, and you never know, too, regionally too.
To start the project, we brought in the permaculture design team. They came from Trinidad. That was the Caribbean Permaculture Consultants. That is John Stallmeyer and Earl Nurhara Hammond. They have an example in Trinidad called the Wasamaki Ecosystem Farms, and it was their example that we saw in the beginning that gave us the courage and the inspiration to do something like this now.
We do, through the GIZ funded project, we have a collaboration with People in Action, which is a community-based organization. And government rules is diverse because as a Ministry of Agriculture, we have the site is a demonstration site. We never did a climate smart project before. So you use the demonstration site to help farmers understand the concept. Because I could say the definition of climate smart agriculture, at the end of the day, everybody say, okay, but what do you mean? What is the operational plan? When they go to the site in Mount Morris, they could see, okay, climate smart agriculture means that if I am a farmer, this is what is required of me. That is one role. So a role of awareness about the concept of climate smart. Another role is that we are now in dialogue with the Ministry of Works to ensure that the access to that demonstration site is not only done in accordance with normal construction standards, but that is also a green approach.
Well, I think that the project is dealing with climate smart agriculture, trying to do agriculture in a climate friendly manner, which is what I believe in. I don't believe in using too much chemicals and this sort of stuff.
This is zone 1. These are those places here. This is where your herb gardens and your small vegetables like lettuce, cabbage, they need shade and they need a lot of care and water. So we put them close to the buildings. These are the buildings where there'll be a lot of water coming and being used by animals and by humans here in the classroom here. Zone 2 will be that small tree area where we'll intercrop with things like provisions, your yams, your dashins, your tanyas, different things like that, sweet potato to cover the ground, things like that, ground provisions. Eddos, which here is very known for.
All included.
So your animals and as well as your fodder, which means we're going to put grasslands here as well on this border here. It's really important to grow your own feed.
One of the challenges I think will be that of getting people to buy into the project. It's different. We are accustomed to using basically fertilizers all the time. I would say traditionally that's how we farm. Right? So this concept is a different one. You're working basically with the environment. So I think getting people to buy into the idea, understanding what it's all about, and making the transition. I think that will be a challenge, but hopefully with education we'd understand more and more. It's not just about yourself, but you have to think about the wider environment.
It's also important for the farmer himself to understand that he must also have a better management system. He has to do more recording of things. He must be more observant. So we've designed, or we are in the process of designing, a tool that will be able to capture data. We want to make sure that it is also friendly to the farmer, not just to the technocrat, so that maybe what he can say is, I started my I planted the seeds for the tomatoes today. I know that these tomato seedlings will take X amount of time. I now have a little notifier coming up and telling me I am to look out for my tomatoes to prepare those beds, because in a week time those will be ready to go down. But then the farmer can chalk and say, okay, I have planted tomatoes. M&IB can now know John James has planted tomatoes. They can now understand within 3 weeks' time, they can look towards John James to see if he has any produce and if he would be a supplier for them. They know where their next supply is coming from. It's these sort of things that this precision agriculture tool that we're designing will be able to track.
I have been involved as the researcher, basically developing the research methodology to collect the data in preparation for this project. We have employed a method which we call mapping. It is a participatory methodology that gets the community involved in the process, in the mapping process. So not only are the community members providing the information, but they're also providing the language that we use when we ask questions. They're providing information on the resources in the community. The community mapping basically is a tool for assessing the resources in the community, the physical resources, the human resources, the networking, both formal and informal. So it is a very important aspect of the project. It is a very, very participatory, involving aspect of data collection, and it is, it's exciting. Now, mapping is a very broad category of data collection. Right? And specifically for that project, we focus a lot on the environment and the sort of natural resources that exist in the communities. So we're gonna ask questions about the landscape, the seascape, the mountain, the forest, the trees, the plots, the grassland, the waterways, and having community members identify where they are, plotting where they are. So it's a collection of all of these resources that we would have available. So it's like a one-stop shop for information about the community.
Well, Grenada is a small island developing state, and we are very vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. And agriculture is one of our sectors, one of our most important sectors, and that sector has been identified as very vulnerable to climate change. So in the Integrated Climate Change Adaptation Strategies Program, for short is ICAS, we have identified the sector as one of the sectors we want to work with in terms of building its resilience to climate change through adaptation strategies. So we are working in the sector and looking at its water use, because the water sector is also a sector that has been identified as very vulnerable. So we're looking at how it is that the agricultural sector could increase its resilience to climate change through its water use. And the Moritz area falls within a watershed, and it also leads to the Molineux-Bouchejou Marine Protected Area. So we are looking at how it is that that community could use the resources within the watershed more efficiently and using agriculture as the medium for this.
Well, things have changed. A lot of the older people who was really involved in farming have died out, and not much young people is picking up on it. We still have a number of people who do farming now. One of the main challenges we have now is less rainfall. As you would observe, I depend solely on Mother Nature, and over the last 10-15 years, there have been less and less rainfall.
As a ministry, we are building 3 intersectoral linkages. So I would like to say that to put our discussion in context. The first one is what most people would be aware of, is the linkage between agriculture and health. Remember, Eat Local, Buy Local, Zero Hunger. These are the programs at the forefront of that thinking. The second linkage is between climate change and agriculture, or you could say agriculture and environment, because climate change is just one aspect. And in light of the link between agriculture and environment, we have the Green Adapts program, where we call on everybody to adapt to climate change. So we have projects under the GIZ and projects under the UNDP. They are the implementing partners of the ICAS project. The third linkage we would like to establish is between agriculture and tourism, but that is in its, genesis stages. It's not launches yet.
Well, the projects haven't really started as yet, but I think there's a number of farmers that is behind the project. We in Mount Moritz welcome the project because we see it as a good for the community. And so we've been working along with Ms. Denise, trying to get things in place. She has been assisting us in some training and so on. For example, I've been to a permaculture design course. I have my certificate. So it was earlier this year, so as from this planting season, we will try to put into practice, what I have learned, and try to assist other farmers in implementing that type of farming, climate-friendly farming.
Out of the training of permaculture, 6 examples were made. These 6 examples, or demo sites that were developed, are in addition to the model farm. And these came about quite naturally. There was quite a demand for the permaculture training, where we were able to entertain about 36 persons for the training itself. From that training and those 6 examples, we had the prison, Her Majesty's Prison in Richmond Hill, who have now designed their farms and are interested in making a sustainable prison. We are now teaching permaculture inside of the prison as well. We have 3 persons in the prison who are trained in permaculture. We also have the Moringa Farms of Pride of the Meadow in Conference, St. Andrews, where a family is doing a 2-acre farm. They've taken the whole design very seriously, and without funding and without any further help, but a lot of conversation, they have gone so far as building their own ponds and check dams. They've done their swales already, so they've actually practicing a lot their principles, both them and the prison.
Actually, from the trainings, other persons have been interested and have started using the permaculture practices on their farms, which is very good. It's been replicated already, which is success for us and for PIA. So by the next year is when the project would end from GIZ's perspective, but from PIA and the overall project, it's a lifelong learning institute, so this project would go on for a lifetime.